This is Philip Norman. I've spent the last 3 years writing the biography of Paul McCartney. This was written with Paul's approval, or as he put it, his tacit approval, which meant that I was free to talk to a lot of people very close to him who normally would not talk to a writer. I suppose the best example was John Eastman, who is Paul's brother-in-law, the brother of Paul's late wife Linda, who was tremendously helpful and enlightening and had never ever talked to a writer before. Paul has a stepmother and a stepsister the world doesn't really know about, and I could talk to them. So all in all, I think that I've produced a very full and rounded portrait of someone who I imagined having so many blessings, the blessings of great talent and wonderful looks and a marvellous, unique voice, would be rather self-satisfied and pleased with his career. I discovered that he's really, in his own way, just as insecure as John Lennon was, which I suppose is proved by the fact that almost every night of the year, he still is performing for 3 hours on stage without even a drink of water, certainly not an intermission. So I found a much more complex character than I expected. I had the reputation before of being anti-McCartney because I'd written a Beatles biography called Shout, which I admit was rather hard on him and perhaps unfair. Then I wrote the John Lennon biography, in which I was determined to redress perhaps the imbalance of the Beatles biography, and on which McCartney did help me. He answered questions by email, and the strange thing was that I had only interviewed him once face-to-face before, when I was 22. I was a reporter in the northeast of England, and the Beatles came to Newcastle on Tyne, and I got into their dressing room and managed to interview them. And I didn't come face-to-face with him again until the very end of this biography, when I met him in Liverpool where he was performing. And so there was 50 years between the two face-to-face encounters, though he had phoned me before. He once rang me up because as he said, he wanted to find out what this person was like who seemed to dislike him so much, and I assured him I didn't dislike him, and we had a really rather nice chat for half an hour because I wasn't expecting anything from him. I wasn't like a journalist talking to a big star. We just talked sort of man to man, and afterwards I put the phone down and said to my wife, you know, he's not so bad. And I think somewhere he was putting the phone down and saying, he's not so bad. So this book, like my other biographies, is not just a book for the Beatle fans or the McCartney fans. I try to make a real biography that is about the times and about the social conditions. There's a half a century of popular culture in this biography, from rock and roll in its very early years to the present, where Paul McCartney is still an incredibly cool name. You only have to say that name anywhere in the world and people come to attention and they're interested. I spent, as I said, 3 years writing it. It's very, very hard work writing a book about popular music. You have to make sense of a subject that's essentially rather nonsensical. You have to make a book that even people who don't care that much about pop music or the Beatles will still want to read and still find interesting. I'm very, very pleased that it's going to be an audiobook. I have always loved being read to. I still do. And I'm sure that this product, particularly with the narrator that's been chosen, will do justice to what is an extraordinary story, and that I shall be listening myself with great enjoyment. Thank you very much.